Hello, and welcome to Stitching Across the Smokies. Today is September 22nd. I am Tanya, and thank you for joining me in my little stitching neck of the woods. I want to thank all the returning viewers and subscribers. I really do appreciate it. And for anyone new seeing this video today, I hope you enjoy what you see. You may hear Benjamin out in the hall meowing. He hears me in here talking. All right, so today I'm glancing down at my notes. Today we're going to talk about my weekly focus piece, which is from my rotation. My one strand a day, Stitchopoly, gridiron stitching, the birthday piece that I stitched on, and I have a new start to talk about. Hopefully I have all of my ducks in a row today. We'll see as we go along. But speaking of ducks, the last couple of days I was able to go on my walks that I like to do on my off days, and I'll put up a few pictures here that I took on my walks. I saw the usual ducks, geese. I did see one crane. But the majority of the few pictures that I'm going to show today are of what I call morning glories. It may not be the correct term of what they are, but growing up, that's what we always called them, was morning glories. And these morning glories that are along the river walk that I do, the colors are just amazing, the bright colors. And for whatever reason, it strikes me as odd to have so many different colors of them in one area. More than likely, the city, put some wildflower seeds out there, and that's why there's so many different colors there. But I've been seeing white ones, like a deep, beautiful shade of purple ones, some pink ones, and then there's some kind of like a lighter blue violet kind of colored ones. But anyway, I will put up a few pictures of those so you can see those. And if they're not morning glories, let me know what you call them, because like I said, growing up, that's what I've always heard, is that they were morning glories. Also, when I went this morning, there was a goose standing kind of close to the pathway, so I kind of got somewhat of a close-up shot of a goose. But I hope everyone has had a wonderful stitchy week. My week was a little bit stressful at work. Has been the last 2 or 3 weeks, but it's just part of the job, and I'm so thankful when I come home and can sit down and do some stitching to kind of take my mind off, kind of, put those worries away for another day. So I feel like I got a fair amount of stitching this week. Probably not as much as I would have hoped to. I did have a few appointments that kind of infringed on my time to stitch, but that's part of life. That's part of adulting, right? So we'll get on with the stitching. So this week, my weekly focus piece from my rotation was the Sparkling Peacock. Excuse me. Scratch that. Let's back up. I'm going to start off with my one strand a day. So my one strand a day, I'm stitching on this same piece, one strand every day for the month of September. And it is a Dimensions Gold collection piece. And it's called Maggie the Messmaker. And it's based on artwork by Charles Wazaki. I am stitching this on, I believe, it's everything that came in the kit, and it is on 18 count Ada in the color beige. And you should be seeing a picture of where I was last week when you saw it. And this is where it is now. So I did move the Q-snap over just a little bit so I could start working on this other red curtains. But this week I mostly stitched, filling in the rest of the sky and finishing off the frame. And then I started on this curtain here. And most all of these stitches here are half stitches. So as far as half stitches are concerned, I did 1,099 half stitches, which are approximately 555 actual stitches. But that's what I got done, just doing the one strand a day on this piece. This week I will continue coming out this way and then start working my way down. And then I'll be able to get rid of all these part threads. I've got this week to go on this one, and then since we're coming up on the end of the month, then I'll be switching over to my other piece. But we'll talk about that in the next video. But this is Maggie the Messmaker. Alright, and so the next piece I'm going to talk about was a piece that had a birthday this month, meaning I started it in September, I believe of 24, but it may have been 23. And so when I have a piece that isn't in my current rotation that has a birthday, I try to stitch on that piece at some point during that month of its birthday. And so this month it was Tiny Modernist Halloween Ouija. And at one point this was a stitch along, I believe, but I'm late to the party on that one. But this one I am stitching on 32 count . 32 count Dusty Cottage. It's an even weave by the Stitch Me Fabrics. And hopefully I remembered to put up a before photo of what this looked like. But I stitched on this for one day and I got in 322 stitches on this one. And on this one, I am using all of the called for threads, which I believe includes a couple of Weeks Dye Works threads and the color Whitewash and Blackboard. And I bought a couple of skeins of these, and I think that'll be enough for these. But I'm also using the 310, which is also called for in this piece. Sorry about that. Trying to keep things organized because I want to come back to one of those in just a minute. All right. So now let's move on to the actual weekly focus piece, which is my rotation piece for the week. This was my second chatelaine, and this one is Sparkling Peacock, and you should be seeing a photo of it here. And you should also be seeing a photo of where it was last time you saw it, which would have been my WIT parade. This is where it is now. I'm not sure if you can see the Petite Treasure braid, but this is being stitched on 28 count cashel linen on green sapphire. And you can't really tell that this is a green, but it's like a very pale green. I am using the DMC conversion for the silks in addition to the regular DMC that it calls for. I'm using the Petite Treasure braid like I'd mentioned, and I put in a couple of I put in a full row of one of the treasure braids, one of the goads, and then I started on like a pale green shade. Not sure if you can even see that. See the sparkle from it. And I am doing all the cross stitches first, then coming back and doing specialty stitches, which you can see a few of them there. And then once I get all that done, I will go back in at the end and put in beads. But this is Sparkling Peacock. And I was able to get in 477 stitches on this week. I tried filming, or I did film, a stitch with me working on this yesterday, but the angle of the camera was not good at all, so you really couldn't even see the actual spot I was stitching in. So I've got to come up with a better way to film those so that you can see better. But this is Sparkling Peacock. So then my next stitching would have been Stitchopoly, and I did not get all my Stitchopoly stitching done for the week, so that'll carry over another week. And sometimes it takes 3 weeks. It just depends on how busy I am, because between work and my commute back and forth, I don't get a whole lot of stitching time in the evenings when I get home, depending on what I've got going on. So sometimes it may take me 2 or 3 weeks to get through it, and that very well could be the way it goes this time. But so the first piece I was going to work on was a crochet project, and I will put up a picture of what it will look like finished here. And this is Flora's Fauna by Rosina Plain, I believe is her name. I forgot to write that down. And I got really frustrated with this piece this time. And I'll tell you why, because what little bit I'm going to show you right here, you will notice the difference from what it was when I showed it last week. Because when I picked it up and I put 2 whole rows in, and then it dawned on me. Last time I put this down, I put it down because I got frustrated because the colors were not turning out the way I wanted them to. At the bottom of the Afghan, I'll put the picture back up here. You'll see that at the very bottom is ladybugs, or some people call them ladybirds. And I wanted those to be in the blue color. Well, I apparently got confused as to which yarn color I needed to be using in order for them to be in blue. And so I had it wrong last time. And so I hadn't unraveled all of it. I just kept going because I'd forgot that. So I got up to the point where I started crocheting on the ladybugs and realized what I had done. So I had to unravel it all. And so I've had to start over. And so, as you can see, I did not get very far. But that's the way it goes sometimes. But now, at least because I've unraveled it, when I pick it up next time, I will know. So next time that comes up on Stitchopoly, I will continue from that point on Flora's Fauna. Okay, the next piece, and I forgot to get it out. So much for having my ducks in a row, right? Just a sec. Okay, I'm back. All right. So my next piece for Stitchopoly this round is Her Majesty. You should be seeing a picture of what it will look like when it's done. And then a picture of what it looked like last time you saw it. I barely got any stitches in this at all. But what I did is I came back up here and started on this diagonal. This is a Haid. It's being stitched on either 18 or 20 count Aida, cream colored. And I got a whopping 60 stitches in on this. So it is currently sitting at 4% complete. Okay. All right, so let's move on to Gridiron Grind. So this week for Gridiron Grind, University of Tennessee volunteers played UAB. They won 56-24. So for my two pieces, for my main piece, my largest piece, which is the one I'm using for UT, that added 610 stitches to my total that I need. And then for UAB, which would be my opposing piece that I'm using, that added 120 stitches. So for the opposing teams, I'm using the Postman by Cottage Garden Samplings. And for this piece, I'm using the called for, with the exception of the Aztecs red that it calls for from Weeks Dye Works. I'm using Red Fox by Color and Cotton. And then instead of DMC 3799, and that would be, you know, all the dark spots there, I'm using Rustic Black by Color and Cotton, which I ran out of when I was stitching Saturday. So that means I'm going to have to do a order for Color and Cotton. And as you all well know, you can't just order one skein of thread. I'm going to have to find something else on there to order, whether it be thread, fabric, or some patterns. But I will be having to do a order soon because I've run out, and so I won't be able to finish the dark areas if I don't make that order soon. So here's where I'm at. Hopefully there was a picture of my before. This is where I got to. I did the 270 stitches from last week's game against Georgia, I believe. I could be wrong. Yeah, it was Georgia. But I got all those done, so it's caught up to the game yesterday, and I'll talk about that in a minute in my plans. But as you can see, I filled in this area right here, and I've started in on his face here. I'm going to be doing something different with the scarf that he has on. I'm changing the colors up. So the scarf will not be red. I believe I'm going to do that in a blue. And I'm also, depending on the mailboxes, the majority of them, this one looks like more like a British mailbox. And if I'm not mistaken, are they red? I can't remember when I was over there and saw them. I'll have to Google and see if they're actually red. But most of these others, I'm going to put blue, make them blue, more of an actual postal color, I guess you could say. And then, of course, the red bird will be red. And I believe I will make his scarf blue as well. I'll just have to go through and find a pretty blue to use. So that's where I've gotten to on him. And he is being stitched on 14 count Fiddler's Aida, which was just something from Hobby Lobby. Right? Real quick, I'm also using this that my stitches are counting towards a game that I'm playing on Discord. It's a beta. I'm one of the beta testers, so to speak, for this game. And so I'm using this for that stitching as well. And as we go along and I see how it goes, I'll give you a little bit more details about this game on there. Eventually they will open it up to more people, invite more people to be able to play. And I didn't even know anything about Discord until I registered for this retreat in April next year. And one of the things they wanted you to do was join Discord, where you would be getting all updated information about the retreat. So upon doing that, I got an invitation to do this game. So that's how that came about. All right, so then for the Tennessee Vows, the piece I'm using is Two Dancing Peacocks. And you should be seeing a picture of what it will look like when it's completed. This is a Haid, and the artwork is by Oleg Grovlov. You should be seeing a picture of where it was at last time you saw it. I'm stitching this on 18 count Aida in the color cream, or maybe more of a white, but this is where I got to. And previously I had finished this diagonal, except for a few stragglers, that threads that I did not have. And so this week, excuse me. And so this week, I started this new diagonal up there. And so on Saturday, while the game was going on, I got in 114 stitches. Not very many. Most of my time was spent on the postman. This stitching obviously goes quicker on the postman than it does on this, because this is a lot of confetti, especially when you get down into blues and greens. That part at the top isn't too bad. But this is currently sitting at 3% complete. Okay. Now for my new start. I had asked, I believe last video, your guys' opinion on some fabric that I was thinking about for this piece, the Stephen King house by the the Witchy Stitcher. And this is a piece that pattern that I had purchased for myself as a Christmas gift, I believe last year. And since I'm going to the Children of the Thread retreat next April, which is Stephen King themed, I thought, what better piece to start and take with me than the Witchy Stitcher. So, the Stephen King house by the Witchy Stitcher. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of trying to, and I don't have a very big start, but what I want to do is concentrate on all the black and get as much of that done as I can before the retreat, so that I'll be able to stitch some of the more interesting parts while I'm there. So this is I'm stitching this on 32 count Gray Magic. I decided to go with the fabric that I showed you guys last week and just pick a piece from stash. Like I said, it's not a very big start. It's just a very tip top of the house. I'm using all the cardboard threads, and I got in a whopping 92 stitches. And what I think I'm going to do is on Sundays. I'm going to put in at least a couple of threads on Sundays and see how much of the frame of the house and things that I can get it done with the black between now and next April. So it'll be interesting to see how much of that I can get done before the retreat. All right. So that's all the stitching I got done for last week. I think I covered everything. So this week, my focus piece will be Night Before Christmas. And it is a Cooler Designs pattern. And it was designed by Sandy Orton. And this one is new to my rotation. This is in my medium full coverage category. And so the previous piece I finished. And so this is the first time that this one is coming into the rotation to be stitched on. I'm using all the called for threads, and it is being stitched on 16 count cream Ada. And again, I apologize for the threads, but I'm going to make it my mission to try to get rid of some of those this week, since it's going to get 4 days. And I had been, when I've been stitching that, I had been concentrating in this little area here. I'll probably continue to do that. So I had been concentrating on that. So I want to try to get this finished. We'll see how far I get with that. And like I said, I would like to try to get some of those scraggling threads taken care of as well, because they're annoying me, so I'm sure they're annoying you all. And this one is currently 17% complete. And I'm not sure if I said the thread or the count for this fabric. It's 16 count cream Ada. All right. So for Stitchopoly this week, my goal is to get some more done on this one. Originally, I needed 400 stitches. Since I got a whopping 60 this past week, I still need 340 stitches on this for this round of Monopoly. So I will continue with the diagonal. Did I say this was Her Majesty? I apologize if I didn't. My mind goes 100 miles an hour faster than my mouth does, so I apologize. Thought I was already past that part. And then my other piece that I need to get some progress on for Stitchopoly is Playing with Jacks by the Cricut Collection. And I am, let's see, this was designed by Vicki Hastings. I am using the called for threads and then just my own piece of fabric that I picked out. This is where I am. This is where I'll be starting from. And I need 300 stitches on this for this round of Monopoly. And this is being stitched on 14 count Ada Vintage Taupe is the colorway. Okay, so then let's finish up my plans for next week with gridiron stitching and what I have left to do on it. So I still need 1,680 stitches to get caught up on this. So if I happen to get done, which with my Stitchopoly stitching on Tuesday and Thursday, I'll pull this out and go ahead and get some extra stitches on it. If not, it'll be Saturday. So I need, and this is 2 dancing peacocks. There I go again, not telling you what the piece is. I apologize. 2 dancing peacocks, needed 1680 on that. And the postman, I still need 120 stitches on this, and I'll have to keep working on his head and other bits until I get another skein of this color in from Color and Cotton. Like I said, I'll have to do me an order. I may do it today. And then my one strand today will be Maggie the Mess Maker. I will continue working over in this area here to finish up the curtain, and then it will be the wallpaper, which is similar to the way it is over here. Not sure I'll get all that done, but if I do, then I'll start working my way down. All right. I believe that's all the actual stitching I have to show you. I do have a question though. I was thinking of doing like monthly wrap-ups, not necessarily a separate video. I guess it would depend on what all I have to show if I did a separate video. But I was thinking about doing a monthly wrap-up and showing, you know, all the projects for whatever month, like September, that I had worked on, the progress I'd made. And I think the biggest part and that's going to reflect the most change will be my one strand a day, because it's going to be very interesting to see my progress from the previous month when I put it down and then picked it up and did the one strand a day for this month, and see the difference that, you know, the progress that I've made on it. I hope that makes sense. But if you think that's a good idea, or if you're interested in seeing that, please leave me a comment below and let me know. With that, I will leave you. Hope you have a great week. Take some time for yourself and get some stitching in. And until then, I will see you next week. Tanya here again. I forgot there was something else I was going to show you. This month was anniversary month for Be Stitch Me Fabrics, and she always does a lot of giveaways during the week of her anniversary. And I actually won something. It's the very first time I've actually won something in a giveaway on period, I believe. But I got some silks, and I wanted to share those. They're really, really gorgeous colors. Beautiful purples in there. This one is called Jack-o'-lantern. This beautiful yellow. I'm not a yellow person, but that is beautiful. This one's called Lemonade. This one's got a beautiful variegation to it. And this one's called All Lit Up. These colors are coming through good. The next one is a beautiful orange. And this one's called Blaze. Really pretty variegation in that one. These would actually, some of these would look really good in that Playing with Jack's piece that I'm working on. It's another orange. And this one, it looks like it's called Carnelian, if I'm saying that correctly. Very pretty. Here's a beautiful lime green. I love like fluorescent lime green color. This is called Parakeet. Beautiful. It's another green. Colorway Grass. Here's a dark shade of green. And the colorway Pine. Purple. And this one is the colorway Strong. It's almost like got a like a fuchsia tint, you know, to it. Very pretty. Love the variegation in this one. This one is called September. And the last one is called Gioiello. Giello. Very pretty. But again, I was very tickled. I've never won anything. And these are all gorgeous colors. So tickled to add these to my stash. All right. So let's try this again. Until next time, get as much stitching in as you can. I'll see you later. Bye.